Welcome to Soccer Morning on Backheel.com. Here's your host, Jason Davis.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome in to Soccer Morning. Yes, we are back. I am here. It's been quite some time since I sat in front of a microphone and we talked about soccer around the world. I'm back from a long vacation. I don't know that I felt like I needed the vacation or I deserved the vacation. It just was time for a vacation. I went to Colorado for 10 days. Took my kid, enjoyed the mountains, skied a little bit. Yeah, I did all that stuff. All somebody else is dying, by the way. All through family connection. Went to see family mostly. But I'm back, and I'm glad that I'm back because so much happened while I was gone that now I feel like it's going to take us 2 weeks just to dig through all of it. And the way that the news cycle works is that we're already forgetting about things that happened 3 days ago. Big things. Massive things. I have yet to be able to talk to you guys about Frank Lampard and Manchester City and New York City FC and that debacle. And you're probably already forgetting about it because Steven Gerrard is signed for the Los Angeles Galaxy and the CBA negotiations are continuing. We don't know what the hell's going on there. And what else is on my list of topics here? There's rumors of Josie Altidore returning to MLS. There's rumors of Sasha Kljestan returning to MLS. Mike Petke got fired yesterday. Jesse Marsch got hired as the Red Bulls head coach in place of a man who brought the New York Red Bulls their only major trophy in club history. I don't know where to start here. I don't know where to begin. I'm looking at this pile of news, and I'm just there's so, and it's all American, by the way. Most of this stuff is American. There's a couple of things. Oh, we got a FIFA president candidate. Good luck, Prince Ali. Good luck challenging Sepp Blatter as FIFA president. We'll see how that goes. But most of this is MLS news. Most of it. There's a heaping pile of MLS news to dig through. And I'm going to need your help. And today's show is dedicated to catching up. This is a catch-up show, both for me and for you. You've been chomping at the bit to talk about these issues. Let's do it. 347-756-6276 is your phone number. Because there are no guests today. It's just you and me. Whoever gets in first, I'm happy to talk out whatever is on your mind, whatever is most important to you. Whether it's Mike Petke, whether it's okay, let's do the headlines, okay? Let's do the headlines. Let's get back into our regular routine. Trevor's right. I should try to get back on the bicycle and learn to ride again. So let's do that. Number one off the top here, announcing an 18-month contract with Steven Gerrard. Of course, it will join in the summer after the end of the Liverpool season. 17 years with Liverpool. The decorated captain of Liverpool Football Club. A one-club man now jumping across the Atlantic to join the LA Galaxy. Where will he fit in the LA Galaxy formation? What will Bruce Arena do with Steven Gerrard? I don't quite know yet. We will see. It could be interesting. Obviously, you know Landon Donovan. You still got Robbie Keane. You got Giassi's artist getting better every year. You got some talent in that team. Does this mean something for one of the pair of Juninho or Sarvis? You would imagine Sarvis is the guy that will lose his job if that does happen. I'm sure Galaxy fans are ready to see where Steven Gerrard fits, but that's not going to happen until the summer. You got to get through a good portion of the MLS season before you even get Steven Gerrard into the team. There you go. Mike Petke fired as New York Red Bulls head coach. I mentioned that. That happened yesterday. I'm flabbergasted. I don't see the logic in this. New sporting director Ali Curtis says he has a 300-page plan and that Jesse Marsch fits his plan. And that Mike Petke didn't fit his plan, I guess. We should insinuate that. If he says that Jesse Marsch is the guy, I guess Mike Petke wasn't the guy. This decides the fact that Mike Petke, again, brought that team a supporter shield. And Red Bull fans out there, you know how important Mike Petke is to the club, not just because he brought the team a supporter shield as a head coach, because of his playing history, because he cared about that team, because he embodied what a lot of those fans wanted the New York Red Bulls to be. Hard-nosed, gritty, a guy who didn't take any crap off of anybody. One of the best things about watching Red Bull games was Mike Petke's halftime interview. Never failed to entertain. And I still remember that the first thing I thought about when I heard that Mike Petke was fired, and I saw some of the attempted analysis, the strained analysis out there, because people were really trying to figure this out. Why do you fire Mike Petke? One of the things I immediately thought about was when he benched Thierry Henry, when there seemed to be a power struggle within the New York Red Bulls. And he said, nah, Terry, this is my team, not your team. I don't care how much money you're making. And yes, of course, Thierry Henry had influence over that team. Of course, he dictated a lot of how they played. Maybe Petke did some things down the stretch last season that didn't look good. But look at the band's body of work. I like Jesse Marsh as a coach. I think Jesse Marsh should have deserved a shot before this, but not at the expense of Mike Petke. Speaking of the New York Red Bulls, in the news, several teams chasing Josie Altidore, as reported by Scoop Taylor Twellman. New York, Toronto, Portland, apparently, are the teams that are chasing Josie Altidore his return to MLS. It's about time, Josie. Let's do something here. Let's get back into a familiar environment where you can score some goals. And MLS is a fine place to do that. Does he have other options on the continent? I don't know. I honestly don't care. Come play in MLS. Growing league, lots of fun. You don't have to play on that turf at Red Bull or at Giant Stadium. Did he ever play in Red Bull Arena? He was already gone, right? He was already gone when Red Bull Arena opened. I remember him scoring goals on the turf at Giant Stadium. I don't remember him scoring goals at Red Bull Arena. Maybe I'm missing something there. Speaking of rumors, several teams chasing Mix Diskerud as well. In fact, New York City FC is supposed to be the front runner there. Ivis Gullerstedt reporting that they're close to a deal with Mix Diskerud. Now, I missed this. Again, I'm catching up here, and I'm sorry that this is a pile of news that I'm still not exactly got my claws into yet. Is that supposed to be a DP deal for Mix Diskerud? Haven't we done this dance before? Unclear. If it is, man, third time's the charm, I suppose. And I know Jason Christ has been intimating that they'll be chasing some U.S. men's national team players. And Diskerud certainly fits that bill. A guy who needs a club. New York is flashy enough for Mix, I would imagine. And they probably will pay him enough. But again, if this is a DP contract, I don't know. To me, that might undermine the whole DP thing just a little tiny. Maybe make an extension for those U.S. national team players. I think we've talked about that before. The MLS schedule is out as well. I don't really have any insight into the MLS schedule. We can dive into that shortly. Again, it's a big show. We're back finally. I'm going to take a break here, reset. When I come back, phone lines open. Soccer Morning, Backheel.com. Man, I'm jazzed. If that's the thing I can say without sounding dorky. No, I can't do it. All right, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Flashcards.
One, two, three, four.
Welcome back to Soccer Morning on Backheel.com with Jason Davis.
Here we go, back on Soccer Morning. Yes, I'm getting my feet underneath me. I'm joined now on the telephone by David, who wants to talk about Petke. David, what's up, man?
Hey, so here's the thing. I only recently heard about the Mike Petke issue, and the thing is, I will say this, like right off the bat, I've never really been a fan of the Red Bulls. I'm an avid fan of the New York Cosmos, but the thing is, I've never had as much experience with soccer as most guys have. But here's the thing: it's just looking at this and reading a lot of the articles about Petke and how great of player he was, and just seeing the overwhelming response. Just to me, the biggest comment that I got for this is that Red Bull is that if not MLS, then Red Bull, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Because I mean, think about this: if you fire a guy who has done some of the best stuff for your team, has given you a supporter shield and taken you to like within grasp of the MLS Cup, and has really cared for the team, and you fire him, that's equivalent to basically shooting yourself shooting yourself in the foot and then just walking off a cliff.
David, I agree with you, and part of this is it's not just that Mike Petke did some good things with the Red Bulls, that he brought them that supporter shield, that he took them into the playoffs and did some good things there. It's that the man lived for that club. He wanted to be there. He was loyal to the Red Bulls. He talked about being a New Yorker. He talked about making that team big in his hometown. Those things don't happen in MLS. That's a rarity. You don't get the guy who has got that. Now, I will say that there's a new generation of coaches who are a little bit like this. Ben Olsen in DC, who obviously was a club legend there. Jay Heaps, who played for a long time in New England and is now their head coach. You've got a couple of those examples. But generally speaking, these guys don't grow on trees. And all you've done now is you've taken the guy who Jim Curtin in Philly, by the way, is another one of those guys. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
You see the I can understand the fan response being just anger, because not only are you firing a guy who had success. I mean, if it was Hans Baca and they fired him, the fans might be angry. If he had won a supporter shield, the fans might be angry, but they wouldn't be like this because he's one of them. You know what I mean? He is a fan while he's managing that club, while he's custodian that club. And that means something, especially in soccer. That means something to the fan base. This is why Steven Gerrard means so much to Liverpool, not just because he played for 17 years for the same club, because he's from there, because he represents that town. Yeah. And that's the part. Definitely. That's the part that seems completely out of touch for Ali Curtis and the Red Bull brass now. That's the part that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like my personal opinion about the whole thing is that, especially with just the way that everyone's talking about Mike Petke, because again, I don't know the man personally. I don't follow the Red Bulls all that much because I follow the Cosmos. But the thing is, it's just and just speaking of the Cosmos, I mean, you could put it into this comparable situation. It's kind of like almost if Steve Ross at the height of the Cosmos' power, like takes like their best, one of the best guys, Pelé. Or even like even way earlier, like say like Captain Werner Roth, like a lot of these guys who really wanted to be in the Cosmos, that they were born and bred into the club, and it's just it's getting rid of your best element, your best player, and even more comparable. Let me ask you this: are you familiar at all with the club AC Milan?
Am I familiar with AC Milan? Yes.
Let me ask you: do you know the player Franco Baresi?
You might be deep for me there, but go ahead.
But you know the player Franco Baresi, number 6? He was a defender.
Go just to get not that well, but go ahead.
But the thing is just because just comparable to this, even more so. In AC Milan's history, Franco Baresi was the captain. Like he was one of the most iconic captains. He was one of AC Milan's most iconic defenders. And the thing is, it wasn't just that. Baresi was born into the club. He was born and raised and bred into that club. This is a club he grew up with. So these guys in the Red Bulls brass firing Mike Petke is almost equivalent if the management of AC Milan fired a guy like Baresi.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that with the reaction in Italy, the whole the entirety of the South Curve would probably be up in arms. You'd expect to probably see something like protests and riots and demanding that Baresi be brought back.
Yeah, we're obviously not going to see that. We're obviously not going to see that with the Red Bulls. But I have seen stuff. I mean, I'd love to hear some anecdotal evidence of Red Bull fans. Thanks to the call, man. Anecdotal evidence from Red Bull fans upset about this, and I saw something somewhere about the Red Bulls refusing to issue refunds from Petke's firing. Now, we've already had the refund issue when it came to Frank Lampard at NYCFC, and maybe we can talk about New York soccer in general moving forward a bit. And obviously with the Cosmos in the mix, you got to consider them as well. But it's an interesting situation if the team is saying we're not going to issue a refund on your tickets because we fired our coach. When the coach is the embodiment. Petke was the embodiment of that team. More than Thierry Henry was a symbol of the Red Bulls, and he stood out as a symbol of the era, perhaps. Petke took that team and made them into something that was recognizable to New Yorkers. That was more than just we're spending money on Cahill and Henry and some of these other players. 347-756-6276 is your phone number. If I miss you, keep trying. We'll get you in. I had this thought as well. I'm on vacation. I'm checking Twitter sporadically. I managed to write a couple of things while I was gone. Not much. I did very, very little. I didn't have a whole lot of time to do those things. I was with family. I was on vacation. But I had this thought when all of this news is trickling out, and we just got done with all of those drafts that MLS does at the beginning of December, right after the MLS Cup final is done. The whistle blows. We're doing drafts. We're sending players this way and that way. Signings are happening. And we've got training camps open in a couple of weeks? A couple of weeks, I think training camps open. Is MLS a 12-month league? I don't mean that in 12 months we're playing 12 months. Clearly, that's not the case. Clearly, MLS doesn't play a long enough season for Jurgen Klinsmann's liking. But when you consider the amount of news that has come out over the past month since MLS Cup final, that was just a month ago, and what we have left, and certainly the CBA is a sporadic thing that doesn't come up every year that adds to this cycle. But it seems like we have a 12-month news cycle. 832, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. This is Grant.
What's up, Grant?
I was just calling to get your thoughts about the single entity structure of MLS. Do you think that's a still good option? And I guess what do you think the future is of it?
Can you ask a more difficult question on a Thursday when I'm back from vacation, 10 days of vacation? Come on, Grant. The single entity structure as it exists has probably served its purpose. The question is whether or not you believe that the MLS owners would put as much into their product without single entity as they do under the system right now. That's the question that matters. Because if you say, well, single entity is passé, it's done, we need to run this up, we need to let these teams act as independent entities unto themselves, then you are essentially believing that each one of these owners, and maybe you will have some exceptions, but you're believing that the owners will do the right thing and spend the money necessary to keep their teams on the same sort of competitive path. MLS has created an artificial play market, an artificial salary market. And that means they're squeezing more quality out of the talent base than they're spending relative to the rest of the world. So that's the question for me, is if you pull out single entity, or if you want to say it a different way, if we install free agency, complete free agency, which absolutely the players deserve, because that player movement, the right to sign where you want should be intrinsic. If you give the players that kind of freedom, thanks for the comment, then you are essentially saying that you're okay with the league taking a quality step back, because then you're paying the same players more money. Or you're flushing out some of those players at the bottom end to bring in higher price players. But that don't necessarily happen in a way. And you're not necessarily guaranteeing that the owners are going to spend more money on the whole. So, yes, I think single entity needs to go away. But again, I want to just warn people that there may not be the quality bump that everybody expects right away. 214, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is John from Dallas.
What's up, John?
I was just wondering if what you thought about the rumors about Josie Altidore coming back to MLS, and what kind of implications that has for paying premium price for players that aren't performing in Europe. Yeah, that's all.
I appreciate that, John. I mentioned this in the top of the show in the headlines that Josie might be coming back to MLS. I think it's about time. I think for Josie's career, it's a no-brainer. Whether or not it's the right thing for the league to do to pay Josie Altidore what will amount to a couple $1 million to come back and play in MLS when he hasn't scored any goals at Sunderland. It's a difficult question. I don't know what Breck Shea's getting in Orlando, but I guarantee you That's going to be difficult for people to see what Brek Shea's getting as the right amount of money considering how bad it went at Stoke. The same thing's going to go for Josie Altidore. He's a U.S. men's national team player. He's a fixture in that system. He has marketing value, if nothing else. And he's good. He's a good player. He'll score goals in MLS. I have no doubts about that. But you have this, again, we come back to the continuing problems that MLS has when it comes to the player salaries and the market that it's created. The exceptions to the rule, the exceptions that are Steven Gerrard, all of those designated players, Josie Altidore, Brek Shea. If Sasha Kljestan comes back, what will he make? Because we're in the middle of that CBA negotiation. I haven't heard a peep. Anybody got any news for me on the CBA stuff? Anybody heard anything at all on what the players are pushing for, what the owners have responded with? It's been a month now, again, since the season ended. And they were definitely meeting before that. Or they had sent memos back and forth. I don't know. Maybe they DM'd each other. Instant messages. Maybe they FaceTimed. Dax Card. Who's the president of the Players Association? Maybe there's been some FaceTiming. I'd like to know what's happening there. But again, you have a market here. You have a league that has built its name on undervaluing most of the talent and paying premiums for some of it, and it creates this very difficult system to sort of grasp and to consider when you're talking about whether or not the league's going to pay more salary to everybody going forward. 912, you're on the air.
Hey, Jason, it's Ringo.
What's up, Ringo?
Hey, I wanted to talk about freaking NYCFC.
You do? You're the first one. I'm surprised.
And Lampard coming back. Like, why is everyone angry? Like, this is like the third delay.
Well, okay. I don't know that you could call this the third delay. I think what you could call this is a resolution to a question that came up 2 or 3 times, right? The question was, will Frank Lampard join NYCFC on time? And when we say on time, we mean to start their season. And if I'm an NYCFC fan or I'm a season ticket holder, I'm going to be making that trek up to the Bronx to see them play in a baseball stadium. And you tell me you've got Frank Lampard, I want him there from day one. I want him there on the practice field, listening to Jason Christ put everybody through their paces. Well, even if Frank Lampard needs a break after the Premier League season or whatever he does, fine. But he needs to be there. He needs to be part of the team. He's supposed, Frank Lampard's the guy you put the captain's armband on, New York City FC because of his experience, because of his reputation, because of his name, his record number of goals from midfield in one of the best leagues in the world. So now you have the resolution, and the resolution is it's not just that he's not going to join the team until after the Premier League season, if that even happens, because now I hear that Pellegrini is saying, well, we might keep him even longer than that. Because apparently Pellegrini is he likes trolling New York City soccer fans. It's that whole thing about not having a contract or not being signed to New York City FC. It's that whole thing about Frank Lampard being there under the Brooklyn Bridge or wherever they did that unveiling, holding up the scarf, saying the things that all of these players say when they move over from Europe, or when they come from Europe to be unveiled for an MLS club. Oh, I'm here to win. I want to help this club. This is a really interesting country. I like this city. I'm excited to work with this player or this staff or whatever. He did all of those things. Now you find out it was all a sham because he never had a contract with the team. That's the problem, Ringo. You know that.
Yeah, you're right. But it's like he's a city man now. I really don't see him coming in and watch it.
Okay, but that's the thing. Why shouldn't the fans be pissed off? If you promise thing, you can put the carrot in front of them. Say, come on, guys, come buy your season tickets. Come get your opportunity to watch soccer in a baseball stadium. I know I'm fixated on that, but I'm sorry, it's terrible. You can't do all and then just yank it away and say, no, it was never there to begin with. No, you can't. Sorry, and you know what? I've been reading up on this. Our friend Raf writes for Hudson River. Is it Hudson River Blues or Hudson? I can't remember. It's the SB Nation blog for NYCFC. I'll look it up a little bit later. But Raf is doing excellent work over there, sort of documenting all of these things, these injustices that have been hit. Now, I get that when this all came down and The third rail issued their statement, which was very, they took a hard stance. We categorically reject blah blah blah. All of that stuff. Those words that indicated they might not support the team anymore, or fans who said those things along those lines. For some soccer fans, that was ridiculous. One player, you're going to turn your back on your new club for one player. Okay, fine. I can understand being, making a little bit of fun out of the fan who would turn their back on the team for one player. But I think what's important here, Ringo, is that it's indicative of the problems at the top for New York FC. So when it says thanks for the comment. When people say not your city FC or New York Farce FC or New Year's Farce, whatever, New York, whatever those jokey acronyms that came out in the light of the Lampard situation were. The problem the problem is it's indicative that NYCFC, like we all feared, is just going to be some sort of Wild West outpost for Manchester City, doing whatever Manchester City says to do. And even if that's not true, it looks that way when Lampard shows up in New York and then, oh, wait, we never had a contract. Sorry, guys. Mike, what's up? Mike, are you there?
Sorry about that, Jason. You broke up. I know this is going to switch over to a less popular headline, but what are your thoughts on the interleague loan of Zach McMath to Colorado?
Well, something had to happen. You guys have 12 goalies. 12 goalkeepers. You had to. Sorry, not goalies, goalkeepers. I think it's okay. I don't really. I saw this. Something. It can become permanent, and there's a draft pick involved, et cetera, et cetera. I guess what this means, Mike, who just dropped. I guess what this means now is who's the number one in Philly. If Zach McMath is not the choice, then is it Mboli now who's the number one? What are you doing? Who is the draft pick who never played? I apologize. Catching up on this news. Who's their number one overall draft pick out of UConn? Why am I blanking on his name? Somebody give me that name. Because you saw him bully in the middle of the season. Everybody wonders what the hell you're doing. You had to get somebody out of there. McMath to Colorado, but then you've got Clint Irwin. So what is McMath going to do in Colorado? 385, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Nephi. I was wondering what your thoughts on Don Garber's comments with the Frank Lampard situation.
Again, this is stuff I'm trying to catch up on. As far as I know, what Garber said, that he doesn't think NYCFC is a secondary club, that they're their own thing. And go ahead and sum them up for me so I can respond, because I'm trying to catch up to all this news, man.
Yeah, it was pretty much that, and all DPs usually come in mid-season, and he expected this type of thing to happen. And it strikes me when, Klinsman's comments about the league being kind of a joke, and then we see these actions happen, and there's the response from him on this is, oh, well, it's okay. It's like, this is a bigger sign that this league is a joke than what Klinsman's comments are.
I think that's an interesting point. I mean, I'll say this. Garber's job is to defend the league. He went overboard in response to Klinsman to say in this stuff, and when it comes to this stuff, I don't know. It's a matter of expectation for me. I don't expect Don Garber to say anything differently. I don't expect him to say, you're right, this is totally a joke. I can't believe this is happening. No, he's not going to say that. He's the commissioner of MLS. He's going to say, well, this is a usual set of circumstances. Frank has become one of those most important players in Man City's season. He scored critical goals. They're trying to spin it as it's a good thing that Frank Lampard is still good enough to be wanted by Manchester City. That reflects well on MLS. In some really twisted way, you could make that argument, man. I don't expect Garber to say anything differently. I do think that there is a point to be made that some of this stuff, all of this negative stuff, certainly, when you kind of add up all of the things that have been happening recently that have been that don't shine a good light on MLS, they do put Garber's leadership under question. Now, I think the guy did a great job getting the league through a rough patch at the beginning of the century and into an expansion era. But now you have to look at some of this stuff and you have to wonder: are we really is headed in the right direction here? The CBA is going to be telling. Appreciate the call. You got anything else?
That's
All right, man. Appreciate it. Tyler, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
I'm back. What's up?
Not much, man. I'm switching gears a little bit to something a little less negative. Kind of wanted to where you were at with this CONCACAF U20 tournament starting tomorrow. I know you're not big on the hyping of youth, but
I'll say this: there are enough players already making their mark on their senior teams as professionals that I think this is a very interesting team for the U.S. You got Emerson Hyman in this. You got Emerson Hyman in this team. You got Kelly Costa, who's the captain, who I like a lot. Tommy Thompson's in this team. You guys know I love Tommy Thompson. I am excited to see what they can do. I don't know that a lot of people realize this, Tyler, but the U.S. has never won this tournament.
Oh yeah.
Do you have high expectations?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, definitely expect them to qualify. There's too much talent on this roster for them not to. And I also expect them to have a good showing at the actual U20 World Cup. I know there are a couple other players that weren't able to make it because of injuries and whatnot. Jolson, who down at Boca Juniors, was injured, and he'll be the guy. I think he'll probably be on the actual roster. But yeah, I'm actually pretty hyped. It starts tomorrow. I think we play Guatemala. So
you got an issue with release. I mean, it's not necessarily teams don't necessarily have to release for this, which is why good that Hyman in, but they don't have a guy like Rubin, who, both of those guys have had senior camp appearances. Rubin's obviously got his cap. No, they both have caps. They've made their senior appearances, but they're still part of this U20 player pool. And I like that. I do think that there's something to be said for the fact that these guys are getting looks at the senior level already, but they're still going to be part of this U20 pool. It gives you some hope. Now, what I sometimes come to when we talk about the youth internationals, Tyler, is whether or not it's important for them. What's more important? Do you want to see some of these players continue to develop within the system and then get their senior level shot, or do you care about winning the tournament? Because winning the tournament doesn't necessarily imply that you're going to have a wave of talent that's going to come in and push you to a higher level internationally at the top. But it does a symbol of something. It is good. You play the game to win, but is it intrinsically important that they win?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for it. I mean, funny you say you don't really get anything by winning it. Look at Mexico; they've won U20, or maybe they haven't won U20s, but they definitely won U17. They obviously won the Olympics, and I mean, I would say that there's not leaps and bounds ahead of us like some of their supporters might have been saying that were going to be as a result of it. But at the same time, I think it does benefit some of those players. To get the senior team experiences, you take that, you bring back into your U20 camp. Now you're in a leadership role. You know what's expected of you at the highest level. So you're bringing it, busting your butt every day, and you're being looked at as one of the leaders. So I think there's value in both of those experiences.
Yeah, U20s are worth the watch coming up here. Again, the news cycle just never stops. This is not MLS news necessarily. You got a couple of MLS players in the mix, and again, I think it's interesting that you have the continuation of the trend that is US U20 players who are professionals already. It's not that long ago, Tyler, that we had a team made up of college kids in this tournament.
Yeah.
Now you have a team of mostly professionals with a couple of notable examples, and you have not only that, you have players who have debuted for their senior team, the club level, and are making a contribution at that level. And again, guys who aren't in this camp for various reasons, who are doing that and just here for Ramos and company. So it is interesting. Speaking of U.S. youth internationals or guys, young talented players, I did miss the news that Jordan Morris decided to pass on his contract offer for the Seattle Sounders and remain at Stanford. Well, I got you on the line, Tyler. You got an opinion on Jordan Morris?
You cut out at the last second there. Who are you talking about?
Jordan Morris.
Oh yeah. I think that kind of goes in line with what we've seen with MLS, kind of for whatever reason, lowballing some of the other underclassmen that they were hoping to get in general, whether it be the draft or other player acquisition mechanisms. And so I don't know if it has a lot to do with the CBA and some uncertainty regarding that. But I definitely think that, it didn't help the Seattle Sounders bargaining power, that Jordan Morris was already getting tapped for the U.S. national team. You know what I mean? When he's coming to the table and he's got, Stanford, he's got Europe, in his corner. And so the probably was going to go ahead and try to get as much money out of Seattle as possible.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. Go ahead.
So I mean, the fact that they weren't willing to, go ahead and pony up. I think it's unfortunate for both parties because I think he's ready for that environment.
But Tyler, do we have any idea what he was offered? I mean, I don't know that you want to pay a guy who's untested at the professional level, a lot of money right off the bat. But and he may think he's worth something, and I get that. But do we even know what the numbers were? I mean, you're sort of intimating that there was a low ball, and I've heard some rumblings, and guys I respect that cover some of these players have been talking about. Maybe the GA's got low ball, maybe some of the homegrown players have been low ball, but I don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah, I haven't seen any specific numbers being tossed around, but just some media colleagues intimating that the numbers were pretty far apart in terms of what he was asking and what Seattle was willing to.
Again, this is the condition. Thanks for the call, Tyler. This is the situation that MLS has created for itself. 19 years, we're into the 20th season. It's a landmark season for MLS. 20th year. And for 19 years, MLS managed to squeeze, and it took a little while, and there has stops and starts, and maybe it wasn't always smooth, and you could argue certainly that they took advantage of many of the players with their salary structure. I mean, any other argument, such as players with the salary structure. But for almost 20 years, this system has benefited the league because they've been able to squeeze more quality out of the player pool than they were really paying for. But that may all come tumbling down, whether it's in this CBA negotiation, whether it's because the players flat out say, look, you can't do this to us anymore. You can't go pay Steven Gerrard $6 million or bring Josie Altidore back for 7 figures or bring Jack Shea back for 7. I don't know. But you can't do those things. There are so many incongruous, is that a word? Things happening here for MLS on a salary front that at some point it's going to come tumbling down. And I would love to get some sort of insight into the CBA. It's just so quiet. Now, I have to reach deep into the memory banks to go back to 2010 and really think about how that went. Because I can't remember if in the second week of January we had any real news or not. I do remember it being contentious. Obviously, there was a federal negotiator, arbitrator brought in to help. If we're going to get there this time around, I don't know where the owners are going to dig their heels in. That's the question. Because the players are going to come back with free agency. Please give us free agency. We want to be able to move within the owners have been adamantly against that. MLS is a structure. MLS is a league. MLS is a body has been against that because it creates competition for players that drives up salaries. Trevor has dropped a quote here about Frank Lampard. The Premier League has sought and received assurances from Man City that there is no agreement in place between the club or City Football Group with NYCFC relating to the player. So, again,
it's not necessarily that Frank Lampard isn't joining NYCFC at the beginning of the year, or in the summer, for that matter. It's that you lied about it. Or you didn't lie. You chose not to disclose the truth. That's the issue. I don't think that any fan base on the planet would be okay with this. And I'm getting stuff from NYCFC fans that this is being overblown. Leroy says that it's overblown. Sir Charles says, you really think the Lampard thing over the entire NYCFC project? Bit hyperbolic. I'll leave it to the fans to decide whether this brings NYCFC into such disrepute that they're not even worth paying attention to anymore. That's up to those fans who might attend those games. And sure, if you already bought your season tickets and you're not getting a refund, you should go. And you'll probably fall in love with the team and it'll be great. Sure, it will be. And let's be honest about this. There'll be other players. Frank Lampard is just one player. But you only get one chance to make that very first impression. And when NYCFC chose, with their first impression, to sign David Villa and to send him to Australia for, 3 weeks, and piss off a bunch of fans down there, by the way. And they chose to sign Frank Lampard. And they made a big deal about it. They brought Frank Lampard over, and they said, hey, he's going to be our player. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have all the colors and all those. There was no jersey at that time. So he wasn't holding up a jersey. But he did everything but. And it's, okay, well, he can't play with us yet. We don't start until the spring. So we'll send him over to Manchester City. And everyone believed it was NYCFC's player going on loan to Manchester City. Everybody believed that. Nobody had a clue that there was no agreement in place with NYCFC. Nobody. The best soccer journalist in this country had no idea that because why would you even think that that was a possibility? Because it would be Stu's part to even try to pull that over fence. And then they did. That's what they did. 407, you're on the air.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in that while the Lampard situation is at the forefront, how does this look for MLS as a whole? You don't have the transparency there. It's not when you kind of got over and backpedal about.
Well, okay.
Wasn't this going on? And they're throwing. I don't want to say it's a different statement, but they pretty much came out and said that it wasn't really alone. So we're not sure why that was said. So there's a lot of mixed messages going on.
No, I agree. And that,
the league as a whole,
the league has created a problem for itself there too, especially considering that we went through that the problem with the Jermaine Jones allocation, and then Garber saying we're going to fair, and now you have all of this biting them in the ass because this clearly is not transparency. Now, the question that I will ask is whether or not it's fair, not fair necessarily. Everything's going to reflect Garber and the league, but you have an MLS that is operating as a single entity, and this is why all this stuff happens, with a fan base, for the most part, I would say largely, would like to see the clubs operate independently. So NYCFC is operating on their own, not because Garber's not making deals on behalf of NYCFC. Then really, is it on the league is it on the league offices? Is it on Garber forefront of anything happening with Frank Lampard? Are they supposed to say something like, well, we're sorry. It's not their deal necessarily, and yet, again, it reflects back on them. It's all twisted up, and I'm not saying that Garber should get off the hook. Absolutely not. And I've already said that some of the things are bringing into question, and I'm going to throw out before we get to Lampard, the fact that NYCFC, was awarded a franchise in New York without a stadium situation because it's a $100 million check. There are other things happening around MLS and the transparency issues therein that do reflect negatively on Garber and you wonder if the leadership is quite more, as at the same time recognizing that the ownership is pushing at some of these elements. So I get what you're saying, but I think that ultimately the responsibility for Lampard looks to the club, does it not? There? Did I lose you? All right. I may have lost. 247-556-6276. This is your show. I'm catching up. We're digging through all of this news that has been happening most in MLS. I don't think I've even touched on anything happening abroad today. I haven't even mentioned the fact that Chelsea is going to buy Lionel Messi for $300 million, or so I've heard. Is that a false rumor? I know, I'm kidding. Why does this keep coming up, by the way? What is Lionel Messi possibly being transferred? Why is that ever a thing? This is why I have that policy that I have. Because Barcelona is under a transfer ban. These are not. I get it, but come on, man. Until the guy is, and I've seen some of this. Lionel Messi followed Chelsea on Twitter. He's clearly going to be a blue. Anthony, have you heard this? That Lionel Messi followed Chelsea on Twitter, so that must mean something.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was. Yeah.
What's on your mind today?
Some guy called Torres signed some team in Houston, I believe, on 23rd of December, like day before Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that was during your off time, so I don't think that has been addressed at all
my gosh.
On this show.
We're going all the way back. Yes. That was a couple of days ahead of Christmas. Cubo Torres was announced as a Houston Dynamo player after he comes back from his loan with Chivas Guadalajara for the Sura in Mexico. It's great for Houston. I'm a little disappointed, and not because Cubo Torres is a Houston Dynamo player. That's fine. That's in fact, that's one of the better places for him to be. Hopefully, Owen Coyle knows what to put him at. That would be my first concern. The only reason I'm disappointed is because I thought we might be able to squeeze some drama out of where he'd end up after his loan with Guadalajara was done, and that it might be kind of an up-in-the-air thing, and we'd be able to speculate. Have it sort of sorted already. Just from me being that kind of guy that wants to see some of this stuff make the headlines, I'm a little disappointed. But it is great for Houston, and I think he's going to score goals for Houston.
Yeah, I think so too. But why do you announce a signing of that caliber on 23rd of December? That just beats me.
Well, I think
that's so MLS, I guess.
Well, it is so MLS, but it's also a matter of his situation, his contract situation came to a head, if I remember correctly, right before I took my Christmas break, and it was they needed to have some sort of resolution, and that eventually was going to go on loan with Guadalajara, but come back to MLS. It was just a matter of Dynamo wanting as much lead time as possible to sell tickets for Cubo Torres, even if it had to be December 23rd. I mean, it might not have been done before. You want to announce it as early as possible if you're trying to get people to buy tickets to come out and see your club.
Of course.
Yeah. You guys anything else, man?
Yeah. The other thing was that, I don't know if you saw this, but FIFPro, the World Players Union, announced just around the time when Freddie Adu was leaving Godina, they announced that an advisory release that no foreign players should go to Serbia. So I was just thinking back when there was the news leaving Serbia, there was like, you got kicked. Actually, I think it was the smartest he could have made in that country. So basically, there was a release that no players are getting paid. Half of the clubs their assets have been frozen by the National Bank, and there's a serious racism problem in the country.
Yeah, it was an odd place for Freddie to go in the first place, Anthony. Thanks for the call, man. I don't think that it was a great idea initially, but he may be out of options. But yeah, to go to Serbia and then to have that, to FIFPro to issue that proclamation, for Freddie to leave, it's all good in terms of Freddie leaving a country that has problems with racism and paying their players. But it doesn't look good in the totality of his career because we've seen him do this. Go to persistent leave. 407, you're on the air.
Hey, Jason, before I was going to ask you one other thing if you wanted to touch. You have a crystal ball. We go 4 months into the future. What do you think the outcome is, the salary increase is going to look like with the CBA?
Man, I hate speculating on this because I honestly don't know, and I think that the players be willing to accept, a smaller increase in the player budget and the salary budget if it meant free agency. But you have to build in, again, you have to build in a pretty significant increase into the players' budget if you're going to institute free agency. I think what we're going to see is a small step toward free agency. It won't be all the way. There'll be restrictions. You'll have to have a certain service time. There'll be some elements that will control just who can be a free agent in MLS. But I think that we're going to see a significant bump in the salary budget. I just don't know how much it is. I'd like to say I'd love to see it be doubled, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're talking more like 25, 35, 40% if we're lucky. I kind of feel like while the league sees these new revenue streams, and I know that television is a pressure here, that the television companies who are putting money into the league want to see an increase in the amount of money being spent as it relates to the quality product on the field. Go spend some money on some names and some talent so we can put a better quality product on our television. But I'm not sure the television companies are thinking, well, we need those mid-level guys to get better. Those are, in essence, no-name guys to the American public. I mean, they might be, some of them might be known to hardcore American soccer fans. But when you're talking about whether or not Fox Sports wanted to put a game on, they don't. They're not really concerned about the $200,000 player. They're concerned about the $1.5 million, $3 million player, and that's not going to benefit the bulk of the player pool. So I don't know where we are with the salary cap. You got anything else?
No, that was it. You covered it. Sorry about that earlier. The phone. I just wanted to ask your opinion on that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for everybody hanging on with the phones. They're a little rough in terms of this morning, but we'll fight through this. We've got some time left. 347-756-6276. And remember, we're just doing a news dump here. We're covering everything this morning that I missed, that you've been thinking about since I was gone. And maybe you took your own Christmas vacation, not as long as mine, and you're still catching up as well. Let's all catch up together. We're going through Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Kubo Torres. Thanks very much for bringing up Kubo Torres. That seems a million years ago. Mark Fishkin, how are you, man?
Oh, the sun came up this morning, so there was that.
All right, Mark, you're here. I don't know what you intended to talk about. I can't have you on the air and not immediately go to Mike Petke. And to me, it's not just a matter of changing coaches. MLS teams, soccer clubs, stuff all the time. Change coaches for no apparent reason, even when the guy has a reasonable track record. But this seems to me to be a little different because Mike Petke was a Red Bulls guy.
Yeah, the challenging thing here, it's pretty evident that that the Red Bull leadership thought that everything that Petke had done was with training wheels with Frazier behind him, and once Grandpa Roxy went back, there was really no cover for him. And in the conference call yesterday when Curtis introduced Marsh, he kept really saying over and over again, this has nothing to do with Mike Petke, which is such an unbelievable slap in the face for the New York Red Bulls fandom. It's terrifying.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, and so, I don't believe at any point during Curtis's presentation or the sharing of his 300-page plan, which took apparently 7 years to write. I don't think Curtis said the word "fan" in any of his books. In fact, the Red Bulls fandom on Twitter believes in deep appendix 14 of Curtis's plan. So I'll just
with this. I sadly haven't had a chance to listen to the show up to this point, but I'll just say, as a staunch defender of these things, I would welcome sale to a group, passionate, engaged, local Americans, which I guess really makes the team no different from any team anywhere in the world. Any high-profile team.
Mark,
these guys, I'm just done.
Okay, before you go, I know Red Bull corporate ownership, blah blah blah, and the fact that Jesse Marsh is
invoking the energy drink when talking about how this team is going to play is just fascinating. It's fascinatingly, insanely funny to me. Before you go though, if this is truly not about Mike Petke, and I've seen Curtis say, well, this is really about Jesse Marsh. We like what Jesse Marsh can bring and blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I mean, that's obviously smoke. It's fine. But there are reports out there that they did talk to other people. It's not about Jesse Marsh, and Curtis is already covering his ass in his very first move.
Yeah. He didn't really want to talk about, in fact, he did not mention the fact that he didn't really respond to the report that he had spoken with other coaches, all of whom had jobs at current and were doing at least decent jobs with other MLS sides. The only guy that didn't have a job, or at least a job in coaching at the time, of course, was Marsh. My issue with this is not necessarily Jesse Marsh in particular. Perhaps he'll be a fine coach for the club, but when you spend much of the last 12 months bringing back the notion that this team has history, and that team's history did not begin in 2006 when the Red Bull Corporation bought the team and rebranded it. And then you take a guy who not only was a folk hero to the fan, not only was the all-time leading appearance leader for the club, but a guy that had two of the best back-to-back years in team history, and summarily dismiss him saying this really isn't about him at all. Curtis and Marsh have a very, very steep hill to climb if they want to engage with the long-time and the long-suffering fans of this team. Mm-hmm. And that really wasn't the way to do it. Yeah. So, Vaya con Dios, and keep it up, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Mark Fishkin from the Seeing Red podcast here on Backheel.com. Make sure you check that out. He and Dave Martinez do an excellent job wrapping up everything as it relates to New York soccer, the Red Bulls, certainly. And now we have all of these other elements thrown into the mix when it comes to New York. And I wrote a little bit about this Petke situation today for ESPN FC, which should be out a little bit later. And I also addressed the NYCFC issues with Frank Lampard. And I'll say this, give them some credit. While NYCFC is fumbling the Lampard situation, whether you want to make a big deal out of it or not, certainly doesn't look good for the club. And then the Red Bulls go, and instead of being the competent one in the room, competent one in the market, they go and fire their coach, who is not, as Mark Fishkin, a symbol of the club, a legend, a guy who had two good back-to-back years for a team that doesn't get those that often. Instead of being the competent guys, they do that. The only one who looks good today in New York professional soccer, the New York Cosmos. The New York Cosmos, who gave Giovanni Savarese and his staff new contracts. They announced that right after the Red Bulls did the Petke thing. So good for the Cosmos. Looking good in New York soccer. Well, the other two teams over there, the MLS clubs, having their problems, fumbling things, looking incompetent, making a mess, a PR mess. The Cosmos have some good things going for them. And obviously with the Raul signing, some of these other things, the Cosmos seem to be on the right path. Now, can they, or catch up? Certainly they need a stadium situation and, look, whatever history
the Cosmos name has can't make up for the fact that they're not playing on the same level in terms of profile as the Red Bulls and NYCFC, but they can make some waves in New York. They can. And it's interesting to see them in opposition, in contrast to what NYCFC and the Rebels have done in the last couple of days. There's only one of them looks good right now. 347-756-6276. We can go a couple more minutes here on a Thursday, back from vacation if you guys would like. We can talk about, continue to talk about these MLS issues, whether it's NYCFC, Steven Gerrard, Kubo Torres. Hey, did I see that Sporting Kansas City made a signing? Did I see that there's a homecoming in Sporting Kansas City? That Roger Espinoza is coming back? That's good news for them. Did his England adventure, played at Wigan, won an FA Cup, and now he's back with Sporting Kansas City. I like that. Good move for them. Should solidify their midfield, a place that they had some issues, especially after they sold Oriol Rosell last season. May make them a contender again. Certainly they are one of the consistently good teams in MLS. Whether they're as good as LA or Seattle, I don't know. Daniel in Atlanta, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Jason? What's going on?
You miss me? Did you miss me, Daniel?
Oh, you know I did.
What's on your mind this morning?
Nothing much, man. Just thinking about how LA could have bought another player for Steven Gerrard.
They could have bought another player? You don't like the Gerrard signing?
I mean, Steven Gerrard is an amazing player, don't get me wrong, but the midfield is locked down and Sean was going to get pushed out.
This is true. This is true. You could play him, I don't know, you could play him at the top of a diamond, but yeah, you're pushing out Sarvis if you do that.
Or you're pushing out Juninho.
Or you're pushing out Juninho. But I don't know why you push out Juninho. He's the younger of the two. And he's the better of the two.
Yeah. I forget he's like 20, something years old. That receding hairline just confuses me a lot.
he does have a confusing hairline. Yeah, all right, before I let you go, very, very quickly, and I haven't mentioned this phrase on this show today, and look, whether or not Frank Lampard comes to MLS or not may play into this. We know Kaká's coming. He's going to play for Orlando. We know now Steven Gerrard is going to play for LA. Does this feel retirement league to you?
This year it seems like it. This year.
Does that bother you at all?
It bothers me to the point where I look back and I remember the other players that came to the retire, which isn't as bad, I guess you could say, from like the 90s.
Yeah. It's an interesting situation. I appreciate the phone call, man. 646, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Tim in Brooklyn. Jason, Trevor, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Tim.
Thanks for everything you do.
Appreciate that, man. Hey, I'm being told, Tim, real quick.
I just want to say, things are great. New York Center. Back to the Cosmos.
Wait, hold on. Things are
heading out to Asia.
Okay.
For a grand tour.
Okay.
They're going to go play Santos.
Yeah.
And I just got to say, I love my team. I love Gio. I love Stover. And, excuse me, it's really sad how these other two commercials.
You're breaking up on me a little bit, Tim. Tim's a Cosmos fan, reveling a bit in the failures of the two MLS clubs in the market. Look, I find this interesting. You can, if you're a Cosmos fan, I get hating those other teams, but this notion that if you are a fan and that you have to reject everything MLS. I don't know. Is that really a thing that's just 571? I don't know. Is that a thing that we really have to be doing here? What's up, 571? Are you there? I can do. Who's this?
Hello?
There you are. Who's this?
Sorry.
I'm giving 5 seconds to figure it out. He's gone. He apologizes and then he disappears. All right. Yeah, look, again, coming back to, first of all, D-Roy's telling me that I got the soccer market in New York all wrong. I don't know that I was generalizing about the New York soccer market. You have an established club in Jersey that is stuck sort of being, being what they are. They can't seem to get out of their own way. Let's say it that way. You got a brand new club playing in a baseball stadium, which, again, if that's temporary, that's fine. And then you have the Cosmos, who are playing in a 5,000-seat college soccer stadium on Long Island, who can't get their own stadium deal done. It's not like anybody's in a great position in New York, and they all seem to be tripping over each other. The Cosmos look best today. I think it's fair to say. 571, what's up?
Hey, this is Dr. Brewington in Nova.
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Brewington?
What's going on? I know we're spending a bunch of time talking about New York City FC. What about the other expansion team? You got Brett Shea coming back. What do you think we're going to see out of him in Orlando this season?
I don't know. I have no expectations for Brett Shea. He'll run fast. He'll dribble the ball a little bit. He'll hit some errant crosses. He'll score a couple of goals. I mean, I really don't know what to expect out of Brett Shea. I will say that I like what Orlando City has put together, and they're doing fairly quietly. Now, it does help that they're in Orlando and not New York, and that the spotlight's not exactly on the same way it is on New York City FC. You've already got Kaká in the house. I'll let you go if you need to, Dr. Brooks, but you've already got Kaká.
Yeah, no problem. Welcome back, man. Have a good one.
Appreciate it. All right. You already got Kaká signed up. The Shea sign, again, if it's a cost-effective signing, it's a good signing because we know he can play MLS. I mean, this is not a guy who doesn't lack for he didn't lack for talent. Perhaps it wasn't the right situation, and we've seen American players go overseas and not be able to adjust culturally before. So that they've done some good things, and I think I was asked while I was on vacation. I had a quick Q&A. I don't remember when it was on Twitter, and somebody said, "Who has the better year, New York or Orlando?" And I picked New York because I really, really believe that Jason Christ is an amazing coach. But considering all the turmoil at New York, I'm wrong about that. Orlando to have top to bottom, perhaps a more ready MLS team. I don't know that either one of them make the playoffs, even though 6 teams in the East will make the playoffs. Don't get me started on that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Orlando ends up having the better season. This is going to be a fascinating MLS campaign. I mean, we've still got some time. We'll worry about that when we get closer to the year. We get the CBA negotiations coming up. And again, we've done a show that was essentially me catching up on the American soccer news. I like this dig. Hold on, where is this? From Rob on Twitter. Feel like Soccer Morning is the cool kid that missed a week of school, and now we have to rehash all the drama for them. Man, what can I say? What can I say? I was on vacation. You got to catch up. Some people wanted to talk about it. Mike Petke was yesterday. I'm on top of that. That's not rehashing. That happened yesterday. And something will happen today, and something will happen tomorrow. I will be here to cover it. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Soccer Morning on Backheel.com. Waiting for my show notes here. I do appreciate all the callers. Make sure you're on iTunes. Ratings and review. Those help a lot. Wait, are we doing it tomorrow? You're confusing me. Trevor's over here confusing me. This is what happens when you come back from 10 days on vacation. Tomorrow's Friday, right? All right, well, we're going to talk about some things. Actually, I think this is what we're going to do. And I apologize for this, but this is what we're going to do. Because we're coming back in the middle of the week, rehashed all the news today, getting back into the flow, we're going to line up some guests for Monday. And we're going to come back on Monday. That's going to be the plan. We'll get back into the regular routine here at Soccer Morning on Monday. This show was, as Rob said, catch us up on all the drama that happened while we were gone. We'll get back into, definitely touch on some more European topics and some things happening around the world. I got a question about the Asia Cup. Maybe we can grab somebody to talk Asia Cup next week. Certainly want to touch on all of the transfer rumors, nonsense happening in Europe right now. Wilfred Boney to Manchester City. Is that a good move for, I think he's ready for it, but is that a good move for him considering what Manchester City has at their disposal? Will he'll play. How much will he play, and how much will that benefit him? And by the way, I hate doing this, and somebody brought it up. Wilfred Boney, Josie Altidore, both scored like 30 goals in Holland before making their move to England. Now where's Josie? And now where's Boney? It's a terrible thing. Terrible thing for the American. All right, that's going to do it. Again, let me reiterate, and I apologize for the confusion on this. We'll be back on Monday. We're going to line up our guests. We're going to get a big show together. We'll be back in our regular routine on Monday. And then from there on, until we say otherwise, that's your regular schedule. All right, thanks a lot for listening. Good morning, Backheel.com. Talk to you then. Bye.
Carpet